Welcome back, everyone, to the Frosty Canucks podcast. I'm your host, Jason, along with Frosty.
Big Chungus.
Why Big Chungus?
Why not Big Chungus is the better question to be asking.
Indeed. So, this episode's mostly going to be talking about the Game Awards. However, we did briefly want to mention something exciting. Well, at least for me, it was exciting news. The World Ends With You sequel was finally announced after like a decade and a half. It's kind of a cult classic on the DS.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Yeah. It was a great RPG. I loved it, and I've recently been playing the music over again since the announcement. And I should have made some references to that last episode, but here we are anyway.
Yeah, speaking of that, I was having a conversation with my buddy earlier. I realized that I never mentioned Undertale last week, and that's a game I only played because I thought the music was really good. So I was like, well, that was a huge missed opportunity. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. You predicted the future, or did we predict the future? I forget. I think you mentioned it in one of the episodes.
No, well, you mentioned it, but then I remembered what it was because you were having difficulties remembering it.
Okay.
You mentioned it last episode, and now the sequel's finally out. Huzzah! Who would have guessed?
What games does everyone want us to mention now so they get sequels?
Yes, Frosty or I know that. It's going to come out next year in the summer, like tentatively, obviously. It's for the Switch and the PS4, so I'm guessing it's going away from like relying on motion controls and having the screen as a stylus. The Nintendo Switch port was based off of the Android iOS version of it, not the DS one, because it's only the one screen. Apparently, the motion controls on that, because I've looked up a couple videos, are functional, but that's about the best word, nicest word I can use for it.
When you say motion controls, you mean like the touchscreen secondary screen thing? Yeah, or
I meant on the Nintendo Switch port. Apparently, it's all motion controls. You got it docked.
What the fuck?
If you have it undocked, you can use your finger as a stylus, essentially, like click the pins and stuff like that, because it's all on one screen instead of your stylus on the DS.
Yeah.
But if you've got it docked, you have to use the motion controls to like point, click, get that pin, and then like move my character that way, slice, and like apparently it's not good.
Japanese people, what the fuck?
Yes, that's why I was surprised when they said, "Oh, we're gonna port it to the Switch." I'm like, how? How are you doing this? This doesn't seem like a good idea. Like, it makes sense for phones because you got the touchscreen.
Every phone's got a touchscreen.
Exactly. But once you translate it to like the dock mode, that doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't. Whatever.
Fucking
yeah. God damn it.
Yeah, but the sequel, at least from the short 2-minute trailer, looks like it captures the same magic as the original. It's got the kind of like more of a 3D environment, and it's set in the same city as Persona 5. So many of the comments were, discount Persona 5?
I don't know what city Persona 5 even takes place in.
It's like Tokyo, Shibuya, or I'm probably butchering that, but
like the Shibuya district?
Yeah, that district.
I barely know anything about like Japan, but it's like I've heard that before.
You know the staples.
Yeah. Or like where's Yakuza takes place in like Kamurocho. That's one I know.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Game Awards.
Yes. All right, everyone, get your Doritos, Mountain Dew, and pitchforks ready. It's time for the Game Awards again.
Jesus Christ. How do you feel about that? You can already tell what I feel about it, but how do you feel about the Game Awards in general?
I think it's been getting a bit better with I'm glad it kind of introduces a few new categories every year. It's fine. It's nice as it's like kind of like almost a little mini E3 in turn, like with an award show attached to it. I'm looking forward to the new like releases that are announced. Just kind of why I'm surprised that this World Ends With You was just dropped all of a sudden. I thought it would make more sense to just leave it for another 2 weeks, but I guess Square Enix doesn't want to pay for that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with the assessment that the Game Awards is basically like a mini E3 with a presentation in it. Entirely because most of the show is dedicated to ad space, whether it's showing off trailers for new games or showing us ads for products we don't give a shit about.
World premiere.
Yeah, I think that this as an award show, or even calling it an award show, is actually more damaging to the reputation of video games as a medium than anything else. Like award shows have ads all over them. They actually respect the content they're presenting and the awards that they're being presented out. I don't feel like the Game Awards actually respects anything that's on stage at all. It's just a giant advertisement, which is part of why I feel like a lot of people still who aren't really into games look at games. And I'm one of those people. I don't think that video games are serious art because I don't like the industry doesn't take itself seriously. So why should I take it seriously? Right. And I think that this show is very indicative of that. The big award show that's meant to celebrate the achievements of all of the game, like the best games that are released every year, is rife with advertisements, whether it's for new products, existing product, like new games, existing games, or products that are completely unrelated. Even on the Game Awards nomination page, one of the awards has an ad on it, like attached. Yeah, here we go. Best mobile game is being presented by LG Wing, which I assume is an LG smartphone. And I think there was another one for Adobe in here.
I feel like last year, I feel like there was one that was for Subway.
Yeah, the indie game of the year was presented by Subway.
That's okay.
Yeah, content creator of the year is being presented by Adobe, like Adobe, like producers of Photoshop and I actually don't know what other products Adobe. I guess Reader, but Reader's kind of like not. You don't need to have Adobe Reader anymore. Chrome and like Firefox can both read PDFs.
Yeah, they obsoleted that. Thank God.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, exactly. Because Adobe Reader was kind of I hate it. I really don't like it as a piece of software. It's become far too bloated. But yeah, so that's kind of where I stand on the whole thing. And I know some people are probably gonna like roll their eyes. Feels like this is just another. It's kind of like E3, where it's just a big excuse to advertise to you, and it's not about the awards. It's not about celebrating the medium. It doesn't matter. I don't care how many times Geoff Keighley says it is. If it was actually about like celebrating the medium, then most of the showtime wouldn't be dedicated towards advertising products that either exist or are coming out.
Well, I mean, when you get to like the award part of it, it's like maybe you get 30 seconds, like at most.
Yeah, and I mean, like last year, so this year there's 30 categories. Last year there was 30 categories, and I watched the entire thing live because I had nothing better to do that evening. So I was drinking and I was watching it live with a friend of mine. I believe they only presented, I can't remember the exact number, but I believe they only presented 15 of the 30 awards during the presentation, and the rest of them were in between ads. They had a screen that came up and it was like 1, 2, 3. This award was won by this person. This award was won by this person. This award was won by this person.
Yeah, or they'd have like some sort of like a panning shot of the audience, and it's like the award for best whatever goes to this person, and it's like
and you wouldn't
the
even
audience
see
just does a little cheer, but it's like there's no attention. No one's been given a physical award or anything.
Exactly.
It's just
like Disco Elysium won 4 awards last year, and I don't even know if that. I knew they won like I think it was Indie Game of the Year, but the rest of the awards they scooped up, they spit them out so quickly, and there was so little emphasis put on them that I didn't even realize that even it was like and the winner like Indie Game of the Year is Disco Elysium, and also they won like RPG of the Year and game like best first game or whatever, and it like so I don't know. I kind of hate the Game Awards.
I mean, at least in E3.
I don't even watch E3 anymore. I just go to websites and read like a list of what was announced.
Anyway, we're getting a little distracted. Which Game Awards were we gonna cover, Frosty?
So I did say it was 30 earlier. We're the esports stuff we don't know anything about.
Yeah, it's not going to be very fair if we. It's just shooting a dart at the wall at that point.
Yeah, basically. So like every year, I have a kind of like a betting pool with some of my friends, and we choose who we think is going to win for each of the categories. And in 2018, I won, but I only won because I was losing, and then when I got like all of the esports ones correct, I got first place, and I'm like, well, this is stupid. I just like guessed on all of those. Everyone always just. I mean, like normally we're guessing on all of them, but it's like we're making educated guesses. Where with the esports one, we're just like it basically is all random, right? Because we have no idea what any of the esports shit is. So
yeah, I barely play any multiplayer games at all.
Yeah. So, and then like last year, my buddy Nico won. He just chose everything randomly as well. So we're both like, this is not it's not fun to win, and it's not fun for anyone else when one person like jumps ahead because they got all of the esports stuff right. So we removed all of them this year from our tally, and we're going to use them as tiebreakers. So like if there's a tie, then we're going to be like, okay, well, like who got game of the like esports game of the year right, and then that'll decide who wins.
And what if there's a tie?
We have all of the categories listed in order of importance, and hopefully it does not
Nice.
get to the 6. So it's like game, like esports game, then esports team, then esports event, then athlete,
at that
then coach,
point,
then
just
host.
split the pot.
Well, it's we're not betting on anything. This is just for e-penis points. This is just so we get to wave our dick around for a year.
Okay.
It shouldn't come to that. Well, maybe we'll do like esports game of the year because those are at least like they're video games instead of people who I like neither of us fucking know. So I'm just going to be reading off of my sheet as we go here.
Mm-hmm.
But you're choosing stuff live, so I don't. We have not shared either of what we think. So I guess the breakdown is going to be the category, and then we'll say who we think will win, and then who we want to win, because those are two completely different things.
Now, do you want to like alternate, like you start first, then I start next time first?
Sure, we can do that. I like that idea.
That way, it doesn't look like I'm copying you if our answers are the same. Like,
Yeah, no,
Jason really thinks a lot like Frosty.
I mean, we kind of do, right? So,
I
but
know,
anyway,
that's the problem.
I do have all my answers locked into a spreadsheet. And I can't. Well, I can't update them still. We haven't locked down the sheet yet. But
yeah, I got mine written down.
Okay, cool. So we're mostly prepared. That's good. Okay, so let's start off.
Yeah, I might skip a topic or two because I don't have any insight.
That's fine. We'll fill the whole 90 minutes we usually go. Starting off at the top, we got game of the year. So I'll let you go first on this one. So which game do you think is going to win game of the year based on what's nominated from the Game Awards?
Now, of these games, I've really only played one, and my wife has played the other.
Is that you've played Final Fantasy and she's played New Horizons, right?
Yes, though she made my character in the game so that she could dump a bunch of resources because she ran out of the 1,600 spaces of inventory, and she's like, I'm going to dump a lot of stuff into your account. I'm like, the hell is wrong with you?
Oh my god.
But we're getting sidetracked. Okay, so who I want to win is kind of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Who I believe the winner will be is the Ghost of Tsushima game.
Okay. My answer is the same for both. So I think for me, looking at this list, I was thinking it's either going to be The Last of Us or it's going to be Hades. And because I want Hades to win, I locked in my bet as Hades will win. I do not think the other 4 games stand a chance. For me, it's either going to be Hades or it's going to be The Last of Us. And I want it to be Hades. So I bet my horse on Hades for this one. So I think that mostly because it resonated a lot with a lot of different people. Like if you were a story focused person, it had that. Like it had some pretty good representation as far as the LGBTQ plus community. It had really action focused stuff for hardcore psychopaths like me. It has some accessibility stuff with the God mode. So I think that it hit a really strong chord with a lot of people. Like the only other game on here that I think anyone would consider for like game of the year is The Last of Us, because The Last of Us is like the poster child for video games are art, but it was very divisive. So that's why I thought that Hades would be a better pick in general. Plus, I think it's like just better than everything else that's here.
Well, the reason I picked, because I've not really played any of these, as I said. The reason I picked the Ghost game was just because I knew from what I've seen online that it was just a very like gorgeous game for like an open world, which I know is not your cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it'll win, but that's just my opinion. So, we want to move on to the next one, which is best game direction.
All right, so this one's awarded for creative vision and innovative in game direction and design, which is a lot of words that don't mean a whole lot of anything. So because I bet on Hades for the game of the year, for this one, I bet on The Last of Us. Because I feel like if it doesn't get like game of the year, then it has to get like best game direction. Kind of like how Red Dead Redemption 2, I think it got best game direction in the year it came out. As far as what game I think should actually win this, either Hades or Half-Life Alyx, just kind of in general. But I think that The Last of Us will get this because this award's kind of like a quasi game of the year. Like if it's basically given to like whatever doesn't get Game of the Year, but people would be upset if it about it. So they give this as like a second Game of the Year.
That's a fair assessment of that. Let's see. I have down as winner Half-Life Alex, and
Okay.
then who I want to win would be Hades.
Okay.
Because even though in the last category I said I want Final Fantasy VII remake to win, I don't think it really deserves it because it's only a fourth of a game from the
Yeah, well,
original.
that and
So-
this is like it talks about like creative vision and innovation, and it's like, well, Final Fantasy VII remake is a fucking remake of a game from 20 some odd years ago, I think.
Well,
Maybe
like
not 20 years ago,
built from
but
the ground up, yes, it's relying heavily on its original story.
yeah, even though they kind of threw that in the garbage and
Yes, yes, very much. And then the last chapter was literally a psychedelic dream from Kingdom Hearts. Yeah. But anyway, Half-Life Alex was yeah, I know. Half-Life Alex is like the VR game, and like it's kind of like the VR game of like this year.
that's true. Yeah,
Like I remember seeing and thinking like, man, that's phenomenal. If only I wouldn't probably puke from the VR.
yeah. All right, so the next one we got is best narrative for outstanding storytelling.
This better not be the fucking Last of Us.
So what do you have for best narrative?
I have winners the Ghost game, and then who I want to win would be from what I've read online. The 13 Sentinel game is kind of cool.
Okay, yeah, it's a bit of a dark horse pick to even be nominated, but that's pretty cool that it's there.
Yeah, from what I've read, it's like a really good story in that anime game. So
Cool. I have The Last of Us because Neil
God damn it.
Druckmann. Well, I have him here, or it's him. I have it here because I'm like, oh, they're not going to not give it to Neil Druckmann, the guy who like jerks off all over himself every time because he's like a fucking film writer. From what I've seen of him online, I think he's kind of a piece of shit. He is not capable of taking any amount of criticism, but I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure that the awards will just jerk off all over him, and as he continues to jerk off all over himself, and it'll be a huge ego boost to him, and it'll just further solidify that, oh, I'm correct about everything, and everyone online is wrong and stupid, and I'm the best, and woohoo, go me. I'd like to see Hades win. I think Hades was really well written. Yeah, I mean, like I kind of fundamentally, I kind of want to see like Hades win like most of the categories it's nominated for because I think it's an outstanding game. But anyway,
I had a feeling that would be the theme. Is
yeah,
your game
well,
of the year for now, most likely though.
oh, definitely.
Okay, so next up is best art direction. What do you got?
For this one, because a big part of this is gamifying the system, right? So if I have Hades for Game of the Year and I've got The Last of Us for the previous two, then I'm like, all right, so Hades isn't going to be there and The Last of Us is not going to get one. So I was like, that leaves Sushi, Final Fantasy, and Ori. And I'm like, well, if Sushi and Final Fantasy are there, Ori's not going to even get a fucking token nod here. Between those two, based on screenshots I've seen and based on the opinions of my friends who have played both games, I think Sushi's going to win it because it has some really, really beautiful scenescapes in it. So I think that'll be like best art direction is going to be like the horse that Ghost of Tsushima rides in on. And then, as with every like of the previous categories, I would like to see Hades win because I think it's Supergiant's same style that I've seen in like all of their games, but I still love it. So,
I understand.
what about you?
Yeah, I'm on the kind of the same wavelength. I've got the Ghost game as the winner, and then I've got who I want to win is either Hades or Ori, just because I like that art style.
Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, I'd be happier. I'd be happy to be wrong, and it's one of those two winning. But
Yeah, it's
I
kind
feel
of
like it's
like
the Ghost game.
most of the stuff I have that I've pinned in is like the ones I want to like I think are going to win are not the ones I would ideally want to win. But it doesn't matter what I want because 90% of the votes come from people who are industry insiders. So Okay, so next up we've got best score in music, which is best soundtrack. I always find it hilarious how licensed soundtracks are part of this, even though I don't think they should be, because I feel like that really diminishes a lot of the work that people who
Mhm.
actually do, like the composers who actually have to write them. Although I think every game nominated this year has an original soundtrack, which is great. But I always get really antsy and really irritated when they include like games that are like 95% licensed music. That's so stupid.
Yeah, I can't imagine any of these games having licensed music.
So with that said, what are your picks, Ombre?
I was gonna go with Doom Eternal for both the winner and Who I Want. Just because I listened to that soundtrack back when it got released, and I really jammed with it.
All right. So unsurprisingly, I want Hades to win. I keep mentioning it, but like I really like Darren Korb's music. I think Darren Korb's done a great job on all the soundtracks and all the Supergiant games. I think I made that abundantly clear last week. So yeah, I'd really hope that he would get the award. But these is the Game Awards. It doesn't matter what I think and what I want. I think that Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to get it. I don't think that Final Fantasy as a franchise does many things well, but it does do music well. And that's why I think that people will be like, oh, yeah, of course, Final Fantasy VII Remake is the one that has the best music. That's kind of where I came down on that decision. So I think that Final Fantasy will win, but I would prefer to be wrong and have Darren Korb get it for Hades.
Fair enough. Okay. Next would be Best Audio Design.
All right, so where the previous one was based on like music, this one's for everything that's not music, that's sound related. I put Half-Life Alyx because it's a VR game. I think that all the games here have really like probably really good like sound design in them, but Half-Life Alyx being a VR game, I feel like that necessitates that for it to be like the best quality experience, it's going to have really good audio and sound design. And yeah, I really don't care which one of these games wins this, so I guess you could just say Half-Life Alyx. I don't know. I think that's the one that's going to win, but I don't know if I don't. Yeah. What about you?
I was gonna go with Half-Life Alyx too, just because it's the VR game, so it's way more immersive. Because you got the headpiece on. I feel like that just brings it up to a whole nother level.
So that's I think the first one we actually both agreed on.
Yeah, fully agreed on. If I had to pick maybe a second place, I'd go with maybe The Last of Us Part 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, best performance. So
Okay, I've not seen any of these performances, so I'm just gonna go with an easy pick of Ellie from The Last of Us Part 2.
do you think that Ashley Johnson is going to get it?
Yes, Ashley Johnson, I believe she'll get that.
Similar to Game of the Year, I betrayed because I'm pretty sure it's going to be either like Ashley Johnson or Laura Bailey. On my sheet here, I have Logan Cunningham for Hades. This man has done so many different like voice performances across all of Supergiant's games, and I didn't even realize it until I was like looking at his back catalog of performances on IMDb. And he did a great job as all the different characters he plays in Hades. He plays Hades himself, which is the one that they're kind of highlighting as the one that he's being nominated for. But he also does the voice for, I believe, Achilles, Zeus. Oh balls, I can't remember them all off. Asterius. So he plays a ton of characters in the game, and he's a great. The narrator, he does the narrator. Any of their like Supergiant's games that has a narrator in it, that's Logan Cunningham. Give this man a medal. Give him an award. He deserves it. He does a great job in everything he's in. Just give him some recognition. Come on.
That's fair. I need to play Hades at some point. I'm kind of hoping at the Game Awards that they kind of go, oh, and Hades is coming to the PS4 and the Xbox in today. Haha.
I feel like something like that might actually happen.
Yeah, I have a feeling too, and I'll be like, easiest purchase ever. Frosty would approve.
Yeah, of course. Or if it like doesn't happen immediately, it'll be like it's coming to these systems
like
at some point in
winter 2021 or something like.
Yeah, exactly.
Soon. We're gonna get the hype train going.
Coming soon, TM.
Hey, what's next? Games for Impact?
Yeah, Games for Impact.
Yeah, Games for Impact. What'd you have?
I have Spiritfarer, and I have Spiritfarer because that's the only game on here that received a lot of critical praise, and I know that the voting committee is almost entirely made up of game critics. So I was like, Spiritfarer, everyone's like crying and saying it made them have feelings earlier this year. So I feel like it's the one game on here that's gonna get like the award. That's like a kind of like a dark horse pick that I think it's not in like a Game of the Year category on the Game Awards, but I feel like when the game like year-end awards come up on websites, I feel like Spiritfarer is going to be mentioned. I don't feel like a lot of people played it, but like the people who did generally seem to really enjoy it. Miranda played it and did not like it at all, but She is in the small minority. A lot of people who I saw online were saying that it made them cry and it made them have feelings. So I think that Spiritfarer is going to get games for Impact. What about you? Oh,
So I was.
sorry, I didn't
Oh,
say which one I actually want to win. I don't. Again, I don't care. So like, I probably should have interrupted you. But yeah, what do you
So
feeling?
when I was laughing earlier, yeah, it was because I had about the same amount of like thought go into that.
Yeah. So
It
it's
was
like,
like
oh, this is the only
when
one that.
I looked at the list, I'm like, it's the one of the two games I know like the name of. These other ones I don't know. The other one I know was the Kentucky Route Zero TV edition. And I don't know really anything about the game. I just remember the name.
Yeah.
Came up in a couple articles, but yeah, Spiritfarer I have down as the winner as well.
Okay. Yeah. Because it's like, well, the game critics are usually the ones who vote for this shit, and they like
Exactly.
Spiritfarer.
I see. We're getting to certain categories now that
Yeah, we're just metagaming the shit out of this. Is it my turn now? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so best ongoing game. So this is awarded to games that didn't come out this year, but they've been receiving updates and development and whatnot. So what do you have for this bad boy here?
Well, I see it's missing a don't care or none category, but if I have to pick, it's going to be Call of Duty Warzone.
Okay. Is there any particular reason, or is it just because Call of Duty?
I haven't heard much about No Man's Sky. I know there was an update. Fortnite is in the legal battle with Apple, so I can't imagine. They've been just delaying their content at this point, I believe. I've heard enough about Call of Duty. Destiny 2 is this month the new content was released, and then Apex Legends I've not heard anything about this year. Like,
All right.
I've heard peanuts, so I'm going with Call of Duty just because it's Call
Check
of
out
Duty.
this Galaxy Brain play. In 2018, Fortnite won it. In 2019, Fortnite won it. I am going with Fortnite.
Oh, you wimp.
Because Fortnite won the last 2 years in a row.
I don't feel like Fortnite should win.
No, neither do I, but it doesn't matter what I feel like. That's what people voted for. So,
Well, who did you want to win, or did you? Were you in
oh,
the same boat as me?
no, I don't give a shit about any of the games. I haven't even played any of the games in this category. So,
Neither have I.
but yeah, I went with the Galaxy Brain play of Fortnite won the last 2 years, so it's going to win again this year. If I'm right about anything, please let me be right about that, because I want to laugh really, really hard when I read who the winners are for each category.
Okay. Laughing aside, best indie. I see one game that you hate on that list.
Yeah. So based on its competition, I think that Hades will win best indie. I'm not as confident about game of the year, but I'm fairly confident that Hades will get best indie. I don't think that the other games here stand a chance. Yeah, I think it's going to go to Hades.
Have who I want to win is either Hades or Carrion. But I have Fall Guys as the winner.
God damn, if Fall Guys wins, I'm going to be so mad.
It's gonna release season 3. That's why.
Game's such a piece of shit.
I know, but
We'll get into that.
Feel.
We'll get into that later. We have a viewer question that we'll get into that later with. I believe. Yeah, best mobile game. Here we go. All right, so this is brought to you by fucking Jesus Christ. All right, so best mobile game.
So for best mobile game, I went with Genshin Impact as the one that I want to win, and I believe will be the winner. It's just a fantastic free game, so that's going to get a lot of the player base interested in like voting for that. But it was just a lot of fun as a game that took inspiration from Breath of the Wild and a lot of the other games. So I think it'll win. I think a good second place might be Among Us because it's just been blowing up as of late.
I also chose Genshin. I think that Genshin is going to win. But yeah, we looked at this list and we're like, it's going to be Among Us or Genshin Impact, one or the other.
I mean, Among Us is because it's the end of this tail year, but like Genshin Impact is like still ongoing and it's clearly kept its player base.
Yeah, I'm not as certain that like it'll get the critical vote, but I think it'll definitely get like the player base vote. So we'll have the biggest chunk of that 10% that can come from community votes. But yeah, Genshin Impact obviously a huge success for MiHoYo, and it's like one of the only times that I've seen a mobile game that actually looks like a fucking game, right? They're actual like fully fleshed out games that feel like games instead of like, oh, it's a game you play on your phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, something very simplistic. Like no, like this is pretty high quality.
Like Among Us is like a social. I mean, it's fairly simple in what you do and what it like how it's visually presented, but you get these like really complex social interactions because it's a social interaction game. Call of Duty on mobile is surprisingly not terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like very surprisingly not terrible. Activision is making a ton of money off that shit. Genshin Impact, we already said it's like a full like it's Breath of the Wild, but it doesn't have frame rate drops. And then Legends of
Well, actually,
well,
I had some frame rate drops on my PS4, but
okay, well, and then Legends of Runeterra is a card game from Riot, and the quality of that is it's on par with other card games that are out there. So it works on mobile, but it looks like a fully fleshed out game. It's got a nice client, like a pretty client. So, but yeah, Genshin for sure for this one. I don't necessarily care who wins this one, but I think Genshin's gonna get it. It's another one we agree on.
Yeah,
Like that's three, no, two.
Two for sure. Yeah, we've fully agreed on.
Did I introduce that one? I think I did. I think it's your turn. You can leave this in. It'll be very funny.
It doesn't matter who's best community support. Yes, that's next.
Mm-hmm.
Recognizing a game for its outstanding community support, transparency, and responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity and game updates and patches.
Social media activity. Fall Guys is going to win this one. They have the biggest shit posting Twitter account I have ever seen. That is like half the reason why that game is even remotely successful.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Fall Guys is a shoe-in for this one, more so than anything else, because of the degenerate who runs their Twitter account. I've only played Fall Guys here, and I want to see that game burn in hell. So the one I would want to see win is anything but Fall Guys. Even though that sabotages me in my betting pool, but whatever. What about you?
Yeah, I had pretty much had Fall Guys as well. I mean, how can't really beat a game that like has like 1.5 million like followers like really quickly on Twitter, and like the guy who is in charge of that is better have gotten a fucking raise.
Man's like 40 years old, but he keeps pretending that he's 14. It's really awkward. He's a very strange individual.
Well, the company found the right person for the right job.
Clearly. Best VR and AR game, I'm pretty sure we're not going to disagree on who we think is going to win this one. What do you got for me, Jason?
I have No, I'm kidding. Dreams is who I want to win. Half-Life Alyx is the winner.
Of all the categories that Half-Life Alyx is nominated for, this is the one that's going to win. 100%.
Somehow I completely missed it on my first viewing and was just like, maybe Marvel's Iron Man. And I'm like, oh yeah, Half-Life Alyx. Nope, never mind.
I didn't even know that Marvel's Iron Man even... I only ever heard about that because of this. Oh, okay.
It was exclusive to the PlayStation, I think.
Well then, I don't have a horse in this race. So I guess Half-Life Alyx, so I get the point in my betting pool.
Innovation and accessibility. Cool. Recognizing software and or hardware that is pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by an even wider audience.
This category's name is very funny to me. Not because accessibility is funny to me, but because video games are really, really, really far behind in terms of their general accessibility compared to like all their software development. Because there's like video games that still get put out where they don't have like accessibility options for the text in the games, which is like you can be fined by the like the federal government in Canada if your website does not meet basic accessibility requirements. And if you publish a piece of software, people can sue you if it's not accessible. So the fact that like video games, it's like, oh, it's innovations and accessibility. It's like the innovation's not really, you're just kind of trying to catch up to where the rest of the software industry is because you're a bunch of boobs and you're behind. Although there are a ton of people who do make great strides in accessibility, and none of them are being recognized here. They're, like stuff like the Microsoft accessibility controller where it had all these like crazy buttons that were completely programmable. That's what innovation in accessibility looks like, not including fucking basic text reading options and difficulty tweaking in your game. But anyway, I'm getting off topic because I'm very passionate about this kind of stuff, and I feel like video games are woefully behind in it. But I think I had The Last of Us 2 for this. Yeah, I had The Last of Us 2 for this. When it was what, you as well?
Yeah, that was literally the only thing I could think of. I'm like,
well, so when it came out, people published a ton of articles praising the accessibility options that were available in the game, because this is one of the first times that a video game like actually has half decent accessibility options. It should just be standard in every game. As far as like for color blindness stuff, for reading deficiencies, for auditory deficiencies. So it's like, okay, this is should be what the baseline standard is, but obviously it's not. The Last of Us actually included those options. That's really good. As divisive as the game was, it's like a big testament to Naughty Dog for actually including that kind of stuff into their game. So
yep. So I have I had The Last of Us Part 2 as well.
I just agree with everything Frosty says.
Damn it! No.
It's fine. I feel like choosing anything else in that category is kind of foolish because I honestly do. I'm pretty sure The Last of Us is going to get it. So
Yeah, I think that's why, because I don't know anything about the other games, so I'm just picking it off of
Ubisoft
that.
tries to include some accessibility options. I just feel like they never do enough in their games.
Yeah,
But
at first when until I read the title, like the thing underneath, or I guess when I read innovation, I'm like, oh, maybe Watch Dogs Legion for its weird like thing about having you can recruit anyone, like play as anyone,
that
but
has
then
nothing to do with
that
accessibility.
it had nothing to do with accessibility. I reread the title. I'm like, oh, accessibility. Never mind.
Yeah. The important part is not innovation. The important part is
Mhm.
accessibility.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I got the first of the genre categories.
The categories we care about.
These are ones that are I think, a little bit easier to distill down. So the first one is Best Action Game, which is not to be confused with Best Action Adventure, which is a genre that describes everything. That's next. But
Yep.
Best Action Game, 3 of the contenders, which received quite a few awards above, are here. And then you got Neo 2 and Streets of Rage 4 included as token games to help bolster the nominations so that it looks like it's not just going to be a fight between Doom, Hades, and Half-Life. So fundamentally, I think this is just between the first 3 here. But Jason, what are you feeling for Best Action Game?
So I picked Doom Eternal as the one who I think will win.
All right.
Just because it's like high octane, like nuts to butts action the entire time.
Yeah.
Hence the best action. But who I want to win is Neo 2 because I had a really, really, really fun time playing Neo 1 when it was released. And this one's just Neo 1, but on like the new one is on steroids.
Neo plus plus, some might say.
Yes. What were your picks?
I mean, I think I've said it before this evening while we've been recording, but any category that Hades is nominated for, I want Hades to win in, and Hades is up for Best Action Game, so I want Hades to win. And as far as what I have in my spreadsheet, I do have Hades as the Best Action Game. For me, it was kind of between Doom Eternal or Hades, but I want Hades to win, so I put it in as my bet in the spreadsheet there.
Okay. Best Action and Adventure Game.
My favorite genre, action adventure, that describes literally everything.
Combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. I hope you added puzzle solving into your thought.
Yeah. So for this one, it's basically open world game, the category, and then Ori's also there. I had Ghost of Tsushima here because of my kind of metagaming level stuff. I gave The Last of Us a couple of other awards up here, so I'm like, all right, so like Best Action Adventure is going to be like Sushi. If it doesn't get Art Direction, it'll be like Art Direction, and then like Action Adventure, I think is Sushi's Time to Shine. As for the game I'd want to see win, I don't know. I don't fucking like open world games, so I don't care. I guess Ori because it's not an open world game. What about you?
I got Ghost as the winner, and then I have Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order as who I'd want to win.
Man, that is like the most dark horse pick. It came out last year.
No, I know.
After the Game Award nominations happened, I don't think anyone's even going to remember it or even vote for it on the basis of like, I don't even remember playing this game because it's been a year. People have the memory of Goldfish.
Yeah, no, but I just remember like seeing it and thinking I'm definitely going to pick that up at some point, and it looks great. And
that's fair. All right, Best RPG. Why am I? I guess I'm asking. Yeah, I'm introducing you.
Yeah,
You get to go first on this one.
Say first.
All right, so RPG, my fucking other favorite genre. Who do you think is gonna win this one?
This one was tough for me to say. I did not think it was Final Fantasy VII Remake. I didn't think it was Genshin Impact. I don't know enough about Wasteland 3. I'm going with Persona 5 Royal as the winner, and who I want to win is Yakuza Like a Dragon, just because it changed the formula up so much.
So when I looked at this one, I'm like, all right, so 2 of these have already been included in other categories. So like automatically, if you didn't appear in like a previous award, I'm not even considering you like having a chance, man. I don't think Persona 5 re-release is going to have a chance. I don't think Wastelanders 3 does, and I don't think Yakuza does. So who did I choose for this? Was it Final Fantasy or Genshin? I chose, looks like Final Fantasy for this one. But I fundamentally, I believe this one's between Final Fantasy and Genshin. But I decided that I'm like, it's probably going to be like Final Fantasy. I could see the critics being like, oh, yeah, I love this game. It deserves it.
I think it's just because the Persona 5 Royal like expanded quite a bit of the game. Like it wasn't just like, oh, we're adding a few new gimmicks. It was a whole nother like extra couple months and like new
I
parts.
don't actually think that the game critics care though, and they're the ones who are
Okay.
voting. And then yeah, like yourself, I want to see Yakuza win because Yakuza is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I changed like it went from being what should have been in either the action adventure game, and it's in the RPG all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah, the job system looks cool. I have to pick that up at some point. Anyway, best fighting. This sounds like the perfect category for you to start first.
Oh my god, the fucking fight. Okay, I know that no one, or probably almost no one who listens to this podcast. It's not true. Some of my fighting game friends listen to this podcast. Okay, so like I posted this on Twitter, and I just had like I took a picture of what was nominated for best fighting game, and I just include like the tag I included was just a capital F. Like put F to fucking, can we get some F's in the chat kind of thing. I am so disappointed by the games that are up for best fighting game in a year where it's been proven definitively that delay-based netcode is objectively the wrong way to go. You cannot have a fighting game with delay-based netcode. There's 4 fighting games up here and a beat 'em up here. So One Piece, One Punch Man, a hero nobody knows. That's not a fucking fighting game. That is a beat 'em up game or a brawler. Get that bullshit out of my face.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that one. I was just like, why?
Well, so like the fighting
Japan,
game,
too.
yeah, like the fighting game one, they never have enough stuff, so they always pad it out with like stupid bullshit. Fundamentally, the best fighting game is only here because fighting games have a long history in the video game circle, but like most critics don't know anything about fighting games. Fighting games are super duper niche. Most people don't actually play them. But you have Grand Blue Fantasy, which is a game that I was super interested in. But then I found it out it didn't have rollback netcode. So I'm like, well, I can't play it online then. I don't even think that should even be allowed to be nominated because it doesn't have, like, in a year where we can't even, like, you can't go and play fighting games in person right now because of COVID. Like, that shouldn't be allowed. Under Night and Rebirth, CLR, it doesn't have rollback netcode yet. The developers have said they're adding it, but I don't care what the developers say they're going to do. I care about what they've done. It does not have rollback netcode right now. That should not be nominated. Street Fighter V Championship Edition, it has rollback netcode, but Capcom has had broken rollback netcode in Street Fighter V every edition, and they haven't fixed it in any of the new versions that have come out. The game's been out for like 5 fucking years, and they haven't fixed the rollback netcode. So that game shouldn't be allowed to be here. So by virtue of being the only fighting game on here that has rollback netcode properly implemented, I think that Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate should get the award. But because game critics don't know anything about fighting games, I figured that Street Fighter is going to get it because everyone will be like, I guess Street Fighter because Street Fighter. This category makes me very salty. I'm very upset. I every year I read this and I always get very upset because I like fighting games.
You care.
Yeah, I get upset because I care.
Yeah.
I think Mortal Kombat should win. I think Street Fighter will win because it's just the more like well-known, like people have a lot of fond memories of Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 4. So people will associate that with Street Fighter 5 when they go to vote. I wish like UN, CLR, and Grand Blue had rollback netcode because I'd probably play both of those games if they did.
I don't know as much about fighting games as you do, obviously. The only fighting game I played this year was My Hero Academia one's Justice game or something like that, and it was
isn't that more of like a 3D brawler type thing?
Yeah, more or less.
Like a lot of anime kind of games like that are like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the closest I've gotten to a fighting game.
I mean, like a lot of the
traditional one.
Just side tangent for a bit. Like a lot of the same principles are present in that. It's just that like the game's not designed in such a way that it's supposed to be evenly matched for both players to compete against one another, and you're like constantly trying to suss out what the other person's doing and doing the counteraction to it. Instead, it's like you're facing off against a bunch of AI and you know what their patterns are and you can just beat the shit out of them. But yeah, so who do you think?
I also have Street Fighter V just because I'm not a big fan of Mortal Kombat as much, and
neither am I.
I can't imagine the other 3 winning on this list, especially One Piece or not one. I made the same mistake. One Punch Man.
People who listen to the podcast, we both know the difference between One Punch Man and One Piece, but I think we both looked at the thing and saw one and a P and then assumed that the rest of it was going to be One Piece because his anime character is above, but it's like, wait, that's not right.
I mean, One Piece has been around for like 20 bloody years. Give us a break. It's like 2/3 of our lifespans.
Sorry, side tangent. So do you not like Mortal Kombat because of how like bloody and gory it is?
Oh no! I just never liked it.
Oh, okay. I have a problem with like how gory it is. I wish that wasn't. I know it's like the main calling card of the series is that it's like super gory. I'm not a huge fan of that.
So you like the older ones where it was like just like, oh,
Now
it's
the older
a
ones
bloody sprite.
are comically bloody as well. I'm a bigger fan like aesthetically of Street Fighters like visuals where it's just you just like punch each other and there's like no blood, there's no craziness. I guess there's like fireballs and stuff, but it's like you're not killing the other person, like ripping their head off and then like skull fucking them. This is weird.
Skull fucking. Okay. But who I want to win is Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, just because I've seen enough of those videos and enough of like the promotional stuff where I was like, that looks like a really cool game.
It has the like a lot of accessibility features as far as like simplified inputs for combos, which is why I wanted to play it, but it doesn't have rollback netcode. It has bullshit delay-based netcode, and it also has ArcSyst's really confusing understanding of how online lobbies should work. Oh god.
But I really like their art style.
Yeah, it is. It does look nice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I started by ranting with that one, so I get to introduce the next one. Best family game, aka the Nintendo Award.
I think it'll be Animal Crossing.
I think it'll be Animal Crossing as well. Do you have a favorite in this category?
No, I've not really played any of these.
I hope that anything but Fall Guys wins.
You don't want Fall Guys to win.
I don't want Fall Guys to win anything. What is a mean-spirited piece of shit?
Fair enough. Yeah, I think Animal Crossing just because it was the game at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
And as you had pointed out, it's the best-selling Animal Crossing game.
One of the best-selling games on the Switch, man. I'm pretty sure it's the fan and the critic favored game to win here.
Yep. Okay. The category I cannot decide because I don't play any of these games, so it's just going to be you. Best sim and strategy.
I haven't played any of the games that are on here. I think this will go to Microsoft Flight Sim for two reasons. One, a token award that goes to Microsoft, and two, people don't remember this, but Microsoft Flight Sim has like a 90 fucking like 3 on Metacritic or some shit. It's
really?
actually one of the best reviewed games of this year.
I did not know that. So
it's extremely specific and extremely good at what it does. It's not just a product that's sold as a video game either. It's sold commercially to like flight training schools and like military academies and shit because it's so accurate to how flying works. Microsoft Flight Sim started off as like a product back in the 90s that Microsoft developed for like a military contract kind of thing, right? And this is just like the most recent version of it that came out, but they also released it as a video game because flight simulations and simulation games have become way more popular in the last however many years. So they're like, oh, we can make extra money selling this to consumers as well. Sure, let's do that.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's also the reason why you can buy a physical release of this game that does not need to be patched. It's 10 discs.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's 500 gigabytes. It's an enormous game.
Pretty crazy.
It's got several real life to scale, like very, very accurately simulated flying models and like for different planes. The environments that you fly over are also extremely accurate as well. And all it's got 4K options as well. So
yep.
So I haven't played any of these games. It would be really cool if Crusader Kings 3 won. That's a game that is infamous as a franchise, is very infamous for having really good player generated stories. And it'd be really cool if it won. I just think that Microsoft Flight Sim is going to be like Microsoft's token. We get an award, but also that game, like I said, it's one of the best reviewed games of the year. So
for the sake of the show, I'll just say Gears Tactics because no reason.
That's fair. Okay, we're getting close to the end here. You introduced that one, so I get to introduce this one. Best sports/racing game. Here's another one that's weird, like the fighting game ones, because there's never enough sports or racing games that they can include. They just morphed them into a single category. I think they've done that almost every single year. I don't know if they did it the first year, because the first year they did the Game Awards, which I think it was 2014, Mario Kart, I think came out that year on the Wii U.
Maybe.
Anyway, neither of us are big.
No.
I don't think either of us actually play racing games or sports games, so this will be a bit of a wash of a category, similar to esports, or how esports would be. But what do you think will win for best sports/racing, Jason?
FIFA and NBA better not win. But so I went with, and because I don't really like racing games, I went with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2.
I agree. I do not think the other 4 games on this have a chance of winning. I am 100% certain it's going to be Tony Hawk's.
At the very least, it's going to be the fan favorite, is that one.
Yeah, I'm 100% convinced it's going to be Tony Hawk's. I'm pretty sure
Racing
this is like a free.
racing is still not like, I wouldn't say niche, but it's not the main set.
It's actually not. It just doesn't get focused on very much in the game, like the critical sense. Racing games and sports games in general do not get focused on very much by game critics, but like almost all of the mainstay racing games sell in the several millions. And all sports games are always the best-selling games that come out every single year.
Okay.
Like I said, critics do not understand. Like you can't, if you like sports games, you're like not allowed to become a game critic. I'm convinced. I'm pretty sure Tony Hawk's is going to be the one that actually gets the award for this one here.
Yeah.
Even though like the fan bases for all these like the other games is probably bigger.
Yeah, probably the people who like games, because as we mentioned before, like the people watching this show are probably not like big fans of those 4 first games. They really just care about the Tony Hawk game.
Oh, Mass is a big FIFA player.
Oh no, I didn't mean our audience. I meant the audience of the show.
I misunderstood. Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah, no, everybody except for my buddy Thomas chose Tony Hawk's 1 and 2 for sports and racing, and we all considered it. This is like a free point for everyone.
Most likely, yes.
I don't think any of the other ones are even going to be considered.
Best multiplayer.
So the great irony for me looking at this is that I guess that's not true. 2 of the games on here have like just complete dog shit multiplayer. Animal Crossing is a game you can play with other people, but it's on Nintendo's servers. And that works about as well as it doesn't work at all. And when you are playing with other people in their towns, all you can do is like the same things you can do in your own town. I can't get over it, because like in New Leaf you had mini games that you could play with people when they came to your town to visit, and they just don't have that in New Horizons. It boggles my mind. I've said this before. I think I said it in the review I wrote earlier this year, but it just boggles my mind how much features were just removed from New Horizon and people were like totally okay with it. And then they get added back in at like a later time, and then people are like, "Oh, Nintendo, you're the greatest." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you people cheering them on for?" Like they took them out. They don't get to be praised for putting them back. What the fuck? And then Fall Guys, I wrote an entire article about how the online in that game just doesn't work, and have a video on Twitter that demonstrates how the fucking online in that game doesn't work for shit.
Oh, the tail.
Where the guy grabs my tail and he's like 2 Fall Guys away from me. He like puts his arms out, and my tail disappears, and he has it. I'm like, all right, cool. That's because of a desynchronization issue between the clients and the servers, which is like, how do you even make a fucking multiplayer game and not have that shit sorted out? Despite that, I think that Fall Guys will win. This is like one of the categories where I feel like Fall Guys is positioned really well to win. I don't want them to win. I think it'd be really cool, because I said I think Genshin's going to win mobile, so it'd be really cool, I think, if like Among Us won for this category. I feel like that's been a pretty big game this year that kind of came out of, like, it really did. It came out of nowhere, and people are still enjoying it quite a bit. I feel like it stole a lot of Fall Guys thunder.
It stole a lot of Fall Guys thunder.
Yeah. And then, like, unlike Animal Crossing, you can actually have, like, when you play Among Us, you actually have like a good multiplayer experience instead of let's both of us fish at the same time and deal with lag.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I didn't actually. I considered Fall Guys, but I thought it's lost its steam for the most part.
Okay.
So I put down Call of Duty as like an easy pick, and then
I can see that.
And then I put Among Us as who I'd want to win, just because it's been the dark horse of this year. I didn't even know it was a 2018 game.
Yeah, it's one of the only
weird
games on here that was not like released within the last year, right? So like some games that were like released within the last 12 months, like games that came out in like December of last year are on here, but like Among Us is one of the only games that outside of that 12-month period that's been included because of the impact it had this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy that the popularity of this game is, as they said, I think on Twitter, they've canceled doing Among Us 2 just to focus.
Just to keep supporting the one they have. Yeah, exactly.
Like they're not gonna. They don't want to split the player base, which makes a lot of sense.
Have people get confused when they release a sequel.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Alrighty. Content Creator of the Year, brought to you by Adobe Photoshop. Who do you think is going to win this one? Sorry, it's a side tangent. I love how the picture of Valkyrie, I think is how you say her name.
Yes.
It's her on her side, but they flipped the picture by 90 degrees. Because she's like laying down in the. You can see she's laying down in the picture, but they
I
like
see that
flipped it.
now. I totally see that now.
It's really funny. Anyway,
It's just
who
like
do
you want me to take a standing photo? No.
I no, they just like steal photos from random shit for
I'm
this.
kidding. I know. I don't know many of these people on this list other than Valkyrie, just because my wife Sarah watches Among Us so much that she's become a household name
Oh,
after that.
is she like an Among Us streamer?
Oh
She's
yeah,
got kind of
that's
like a jersey on, so I thought she might be an esports person.
I don't know much about her, but yeah, she blew up because of Among Us.
That's cool.
And then Alana Pierce is who I picked just because I feel like I've seen her a lot more on my like Twitter timeline this year with like some news articles and stuff like that.
Yeah, so like the only other person on here who I recognize besides Alana is Tim the Tatman. He was like really big with Fall Guys. There's like a war between him and the Fall Guys Twitter account for a couple of
Oh,
months.
that's who he is.
Yeah,
I totally
he's
forgot
like
about him.
he blew up because of Fall Guys. Because like he was constantly they were like, oh, Tim the Tatman's the worst person at Fall Guys
He'll
until
never
he
get a
won.
crown, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like Alana's gonna win it just because she's been in the industry for like 10 years. She's got a ton of context, ton of credentials. People in general love her.
I should have said that was who my pick was if I didn't make that clear.
No, I thought you made it clear. Yeah, I think just about everyone chose Alana as well for the betting pool.
All right, and moving on from content creator of the year, we've got best debut game. Frosty, what have you picked?
I have played a few of these. I kind of Hail Married this one because I was like, ah, fuck it. I chose Phasmophobia. That game blew up like crazy on Steam over the past several weeks. And I feel like the fact that it was very recent and in people's minds, I feel like that'll be why it gets chosen. I don't necessarily think it's the best game here. I actually think it's kind of assembled like dog shit, but people love it. I guess by that description, I should not hate Fall Guys as much as I do, but I had to play Fall Guys. I didn't have to play Phasmophobia. So,
well, and Phasmophobia is kind of like just an experience. It's not like competitive.
You get on a mic with a couple of your friends and you scream at each other for 3 hours as you get freaked out by boogeymen.
Exactly. It's just a fun time. Whereas
Potentially.
Fall Guys
is
frustrating.
Just frustrating and boring. Yeah.
I'm on the fucking yellow team again. Damn it.
The yellow team. I have never lost on the yellow team.
Really? Damn.
I didn't play the game a whole lot, but I never lost on the yellow team. I don't know if I care who wins because like I can't choose one over another with somebody with that best debut. So
you could do a slash.
No, because then it'd be just like the entire list.
All right.
But yeah, what about you?
This was a tough one because I've not really played any of these games, but I liked what I saw with Mortal Shell, so I went with that one.
Okay.
Phasmophobia is like definitely a good second pick for me, just because I know it. Yeah, as you said, it blew up. This like even my wife wants to play it, and I'm like, "Does your laptop? Can your laptop play it?" No, your laptop cannot play it. Well, neither can mine. Oh, we have shoot.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
is there one that you, or is it like?
Mortal Shell. Mortal Shell is the one I want to win.
Okay, and it's the one you think will win.
Yeah.
Okay, and then just as a token, we'll do one esports category instead of just boring everyone to death. I don't know how exciting listening to this shit would have been, but best esports game. So this is like esports game of the year. So it's got esports games. It has esports games. What do you think will win?
I have to find it first. Okay, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Fortnite, League of Legends, and Valorant.
That's true. I said we were going to skip the esports stuff before we recorded, and
yes, I didn't have it on.
Yeah, that's my bad. I should have just said what they were.
No, it's fine. I'm going to go with Valorant. I don't know what.
I believe I chose League of Legends. Yeah, I chose League of Legends because League of Legends has won the last few years in a row on this one.
Okay, I guess it's ongoing as well.
I'm
thinking like new.
I could see Valorant winning it, but I'm like, man, why would they give it to Riot's new game when they could give it to Riot's game that like 5 million people still play every month?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Okay.
It's probably more than 10 million, but whatever. Lots of people still play League of Legends. It's a very popular game still.
Yep.
All of the games that are listed here are actually pretty popular. No one talks about them because people are too busy playing them.
The sign of a good game.
Yeah, I'd say that definitely.
So
yeah, that's kind of what I have on my whole.
So how happy would you have been if Best Fighting had had your favorite game?
A Fantasy Strike was in there? Yeah. I mean, last year I wanted it to be in there and I was disappointed it wasn't, but I'm like, but like no one even knows about it. And this year it's like the only time your game gets included in something if it's, after the fact is if it has some kind of massive cultural recognition like Among Us. And I'm like, well, Fantasy Strike launched its free to play, and that was really big, but the population petered off again afterwards. But yeah, I would have just been happier if it was like Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat, Skullgirls. So these are games that did not come out this year, but these are fighting games that blew up in a big way this year because of COVID, because they have online play that actually works. Rollback netcode. You need that good sauce. That's the only way you can play online. Like Skullgirls got a huge uptick in population when COVID happened. I know Killer Instinct did. That game had a surge that's even bigger than its like fucking launch. And then Mortal Kombat, a ton of people hopped into that with the Ultimate Edition releasing this year and it having rollback netcode. I think it patched it in late last year, but the Ultimate Edition was just a big excuse for people to jump into it now. So yeah, that's kind of what I would have preferred seeing in the best fighting games category, and you know, including them not because they released this year, but because they had significant impact this year. Because I don't think the games that were actually released this, like I said, they don't have rollback netcode. I don't think they should be included in a year where fucking you can't go and play events in person, like even play local tournaments or just your weekly your weekly practice tournaments in person anymore because of COVID. So we have a viewer question that kind of ties into the topics we are discussing this week. We had another viewer question, but I'm saving it for the next episode we do because it wasn't related to the Game Awards, which is our kind of big topic this week. And that viewer question is from my buddy Maz, and he asks, which games of all those you see at the Game Awards are the least deserving to be nominated in the category, and why is it Destiny 2? And he says that he
sounds like a loaded question.
He plays a lot of Destiny 2, but he also hates the game. He's a very interesting individual.
Fair enough. I understand.
He liked the original one a lot, and then a lot of the changes they made in Destiny 2 he doesn't like, but his brothers and his friends still regularly play it. So he plays because he likes he really enjoys playing with them, right? And they still enjoy playing. They, you know, they're not maybe as serious into games as he is, but they you know, all like they fundamentally kind of enjoy playing this type of game, and Destiny 2 is the one that they've just, like, you know, Destiny and Destiny 2 are the games they were playing. In general, he thinks Destiny 2 is like kind of a massive piece of shit, even though he's played it for like
hundreds of hours. Yeah,
thousands actually.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, no, it's just something he plays very, very, very regularly with his friends and family. So
no, I really don't like what Destiny 2 is doing. I really think they should have just moved on with Destiny 3, but I know why split the player base.
Anyway, so fundamentally the question is, oh, and he also said if Destiny 2 wins, all of my hope in humanity is lost.
That's, yeah, understand.
Getting back to the question, what is fundamental? Like, what is a game that you do not think deserves to be even nominated for a category? And what game would you be the most disappointed if it won in this category? It's kind of like what the fundamental question here is. So for me, you all know what's coming. I fucking despise Fall Guys. I think that game is the equivalent of a Reddit shitpost. It's incredibly poorly constructed from a technical perspective. From a gameplay perspective, very little of it works on any sort of level. It's just a giant clusterfuck. And if you're like okay with just playing, for me, it's like playing Mario Party minigames, but with more people. And Mario Party minigames aren't really fun. They're kind of just frustrating. Like, I even thought they were frustrating when I was younger. And this is just like that, but even more people are involved. And it's online, and the online doesn't work very well. So for me, this game is just like the biggest piece of shit that came out. I'm so angry about how successful it's been because of how little effort seems to have went into actually developing it as just a piece of entertainment that people engage with. There's so many like simple things that should be there that just aren't. The way the characters animate, it's very simplistic, and I think that's kind of what they were going for, but it looks almost like they put no effort into actually making them animate properly. One of the big things for me that kind of stuck out with my entire experience, it's based on Takeshi's Castle and Wipeout, which is like an American version of that kind of show.
Yep.
One of the most satisfying things about Wipeout is watching people wipe out. It's not them getting hit off of the things. It's them getting hit off of the things and then splashing into a big pile of water or goo or whatever, right? And when you fall into the goo in Fall Guys, your character just phases out of existence. There's no sound effect. There's no animation. It's such a simple thing to add in that would make the game more satisfying. And it's just not there because the developers didn't think about it, because the developers didn't think about anything. Fall Guys is a piece of shit. I don't think it deserves to even be listed as a nominee for best indie game. I don't think it. I would rather see Among Us here, just side tangent for a second. Best indie game, and this is a shot against Carrion as well. It has a developer and a publisher listed. Oh yeah, best independent game. We had 2 games published by Devolver Digital. Yeah, it's a great independent game, isn't it?
I get what you mean.
Both Carry On and Fall Guys had a huge marketing push from Devolver at like 2018, no, 2019 and 2020's E3 Devolver presentations. I don't know if it was at the 2018 one as well. I know they were definitely both at the 2019 and the 2021 though. It just boils my blood seeing games that were just like put out with it, like that are successful because of their advertisement. Basically, what I view as being the sacred place of indie development. But yeah, I don't think Fall Guys deserves to be nominated for Best Indie. I don't think it deserves to be. Well, actually, that's not true. I think Best Community Supported actually fits in perfectly well there because the guy who runs the Twitter account is great at shit posting, and that's fundamentally what that award is about. And then yeah, Best Family Game. And then I think it's also in multiplayer. Is that true? Yeah, and Best Multi. I don't think it deserves to be for any of those 3 categories because I think it's a piece of shit game. It's easily the worst game I have played all year. Like easily, no contest. Fuck that game.
All right, everyone, Adam.
This is what you wanted me to say in the very first episode of our fucking podcast, isn't it?
Little did I know it was going to be voted or on the nominees list this many times.
You just needed to bide your time like the snake in the Garden of Eden, just waiting for something to just trigger that angry goblin inside of me to just get really pissed off.
There's the Frosty I know.
So now I got my fucking salt out. What about you? What game do you think doesn't deserve to be nominated for the category that it's nominated for?
One Punch Man. I don't believe it should even be possible for it to be on the best fighting list. I know you said earlier it's just because they're like struggling, but it shouldn't even possibly exist on this list. I've seen it. It's a piece of shit.
They need 5 games in every category minimum.
The premise is you're just supposed to survive until
Wait, do you just play as you play as non OPM and then you just the idea is you just wait until OPM shows up and like
you have basically to survive the fight and then he'll come and he'll be like, I'm breaking up this fight, bro.
So that's very accurate to the show, but
but it's a piece of shit. It makes sense for a one-off joke and like if it was a game within the game, but it's the whole premise.
Oh man,
it's a piece of shit. It should not even be in this list as far as I'm concerned. Otherwise, let's see.
You don't have to have an otherwise. There's nothing you feel very as you haven't played most of the games that are even nominated, have you? You played any of them yet this year?
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
That's true.
The tiniest bit of Animal Crossing through my wife.
And that's probably it.
That's honestly about it.
You're not very current.
Oh, Genshin Impact.
Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact. How can we forget Genshin? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like my money. And I wait. A lot of these games are on sale. Like Neo 2's $20 Canadian now, and
like Black Friday's.
Black Friday
happening now-ish.
Whoa. Yeah, so I'm picking up quite a bit. Got Luigi's Scary Mansion 3 for the Switch because Nintendo has finally lowered the price on some of the Switch games, which is like bizarre.
They've started having to do that because they can't compete without doing that.
Yeah, it's so weird to see it now. Those kind of games always stick at the $80 price. Like Zelda, the Breath of the Wild is still like $80 Canadian. Like still, it's just crazy how Nintendo always keeps their prices up. So whenever you see like a dip, it's like go, go, go.
Yeah. Oh well. So there's not really anything you have strong feelings towards. It's kind of the vibe I'm getting from you right now.
Yeah. I want Ghost of Tsushima to win just because I like the developer Sucker Punch. Like I loved their Infamous games, so I'm glad that they were able to finally kind of do something different. And from what they've done, which is putting out like the multiplayer for free, there's nothing that's like there's no microtransactions. And I know this is because it's under Sony, so that they're able to kind of afford like to be able to do that. But
yeah,
it was a phenomenal game, and they've supported it to make it better. I'm happy with what they've done, and I'm glad that they found success with a different IP than just their Infamous games. Because while I loved Infamous Second Son and First Light, I feel like they were kind of getting a bit tired with doing like the kind of the same game. So I'm glad that they were able to branch off and do something different.
There's something to be said. You're a studio who ends up putting out games in the same franchise, like one after another for however many years. Fundamentally, they made Infamous on the PlayStation 3, and then Infamous 2 on the PlayStation 3, and then Infamous Second Son on the PS4. And that's like a decade of Infamous development.
Mm-hmm.
I can be very sympathetic towards people having to work on like very similar kinds of projects for around 10 years. That's like a really, really, really long time to be working with the same kinds of design problems and goals with any type of software, let alone a game. From what I gather, it sounds like Tsushima is like another kind of like Horizon Zero Dawn, where it's open world game in the game, but
Yeah.
it's something different.
Yeah, I mean, it's my cup of tea. I haven't played The Last of Us 2 to make really my good opinion, and I've not really watched a playthrough, but I don't feel like it should be here as much.
It's the fucking sacred cow of the
I know.
industry. It's like the original Last of Us. I kind of alluded to it or outright said it earlier, but it's like the game that people rallied behind, being like, see, video games are art. Look, this is art, and this is a sequel to This Is Art. So yeah, I can see it getting quite a few awards on that basis. I don't know if it will though. I think it will get some awards, but I'm not sure it'll be as much of a clean sweep as it would have been for the first game, because it was very divisive, right?
Mm-hmm.
In some aspects. So I'm not 100% certain on how well it'll do in the awards. If nothing else, I'm fairly certain it'll get best writing, just so that Neil Druckmann can cover himself in a bucket of his own cum. But
Okay.
Don't you edit that out on me.
I won't.
Yeah, other than that, I'm not 100% sure what other awards it'll get. I'd like for all of my picks and the betting to be correct so that I can gloat for the next approximately 365 days. But yeah,
All right. Well, that was the answer to our viewer question this week. We want to move on to what we've been playing.
I have barely been playing anything, but sure. I can start. You usually start. I'll start this week. I have been playing almost nothing. I've played a bit of Hades, and I played a bit of Fantasy Strike. I've been in a bit of a gaming rut. I know it's been like 2 weeks, but I spent most of the last 2 weeks doing art stuff and doing blog stuff, so I haven't really been playing a whole lot of games. Oh, wait. No. I did play something else. I played a point-and-click game I had for a game swap called Paradigm. That game is not my cup of tea. So the game swap, I wrote a post about it. You should go read it on my blog. It's live right now. So I played the Corn game before Maze, and now Paradigm was the other game I got in the game swap. It's a point-and-click adventure game where you play as this mutant guy who has like tumors coming out of his head. They don't exactly explain why that is, but anyway, it's like standard point-and-click adventure game fare where you're just like mashing items together and trying to solve these really stupid puzzles. I got through about half of it before I had to just use a guide for everything because nothing made sense after the halfway point. Well, okay, so like some things made sense, but like most of it didn't make sense.
So this was even more cryptic than the Maze game last time?
Yeah, I could get through Maze. Like the only problem I had with Maze was me getting confused about like trying to find a piece of tape. But like all the puzzles in Maze made sense from like some kind of like, okay, I can understand what line, like what the line of logic there is. Where with this, it's like you could follow the line of logic to a point, but then you'd have to do like 4 or 5 steps before that point to get to that point so you could actually finish the sequence.
You need to be an algebra major to solve this?
Yeah, I go through an example in the post I wrote. I can go through the exact same example here. So let me just bring that up for a second. So like fundamentally, you have to find tree seeds to plant a tree. So earlier in a puzzle, you see that there's a vending machine that you have to interact with for another puzzle that has tree seeds in it. So you're like, okay, cool. I will go and get the tree seeds from that. So you go to the vending machine and you're like, oh, I have no money. So I need to get money. Okay, so tree seeds from the vending machine, you need money for the vending machine. Okay, so you go to a nearby church, which has a donation bin that's full of money. And you're like, all right, all I got to do is steal money from that, go back to the vending machine, put the money in, get the tree seeds, and I got the tree seeds. But when you go to get the money, a nun standing next to the donation bin's like, no, you can't have that. I'm like, all right, cool. What do I need to do to get past this? And it's like, I don't know. How do you steal money from a nun? Like, what do you have to do to get by this? And I'm like, I don't. So the sequence of events you have to do to be able to steal this money from the nun, you have to go to a nearby lobby. In the lobby, there's a giant bobblehead figure. You walk up and you interact with the bobblehead figure, and that lets you steal the head from it. And I'm like, okay, so this is like a disguise, I guess. Then you go back to the church. You have to click on the bobblehead and then click it against the confessional beside the nun, and that will prompt your character to go into the confessional and put on the bobblehead as a disguise, because just clicking it out of your inventory to use it would make too much sense. If you talk to her after that, she still doesn't give it to you. There's a table in the church nearby with it's like a church of heavy metal. There's an offering table nearby that has like cocaine and whiskey. You go over there, there's a bottle of whiskey scented perfume. You have to interact with that item. And then after you've done that, you go talk to the nun and she gives you a coin because you smell like some kind of depraved homeless person.
What?
Exactly. It's like who would even come up with, like, who would figure out the line of lot? Like, I get that in looking at it in hindsight, it's like, okay, it's like the idea is to disguise yourself, then you steal the money. You don't really steal it. The nun decides you're depraved and gives you a donation anyway. The only way I could see anyone coming up with that shit is if they just like clicked on every fucking item and every fucking screen, and also used every item in their inventory on every surface in every single screen. Like, I don't know how. I have no idea how anyone would think that through and solve it. Like, I'm convinced that you have to either use a guide or just randomize things together until you brute force your way through the puzzle. And to me, that's dog shit game design. And that's just like one of the puzzles that I had to deal with in the back half of the game. And just following the guide, that took like, I want to say like 15 minutes to do. And the back half of the game was like 2.5 hours. So there's like a solid like 10 more puzzles that were exactly that convoluted. Puzzles with air quotes. I did not get on very good with it. The humor in it was extremely offensive, and that I found very funny. But like, they talk about like the implications of like genetic mutation. There's like some stuff that's like really offensive about like gender identity. It's extremely offensive, which I find funny, but I find everything funny because I'm terrible. But yeah, so that it's just like the humor in it is just like extremely offensive. But the puzzles were kind of dog shit. I just ended up getting like very frustrated with it. I can understand following a guide or like looking up strategies when you're getting like really in depth with a game, or when you get stuck with a game, because sometimes people discover things that you don't. You're like learning about how to like understand the game on a more deep and nuanced level. But when you have to use like a guide to just finish like half of a game, I'm like, well, what was the fucking point of even playing the game?
Yep.
I know some people would be like, about the story. And I'm like, well, but like games are interactive. Like, if I'm not interacting with it, that's like why? I did not have a great time with it. We're going to have to tag this section with spoilers in the thing, but whatever. That's kind of like the only thing I've played in like the last 2 weeks. It's not just me continuing to play things that everyone has already heard about. Now I might be done with Hades. I wrote another article, not explicitly about Hades, but it's still kind of about Hades, that'll be going out before this podcast goes live, so you should go read that too. Go to my blog and read all the things. But yeah, so that's I kind of want to move on to some. I have some other games to play, and like some stuff is on Black Friday sale, so I'll probably next week, I promise, I'll have something. What about you? What have you been playing in the last 2 weeks? Still Pokemon, or have you moved on to other stuff?
I don't know what compelled me, but I'm almost done with Pokemon Pearl.
Why the fuck have you continued playing it?
Why that one of the ones I have? I don't know. I just was like, I don't remember anything about this game, and I was just like, I gotta at some point remember something about this, and I'm like, nope, I don't remember anything about it. So I'm all the way up to the Elite Four.
Still don't like it?
Oh no, yeah, it's definitely on my list of shittiest Pokemon games.
Yeah, the Elite Four is not super difficult. Who's your team right now?
I'm actually having a bit of trouble with the Elite Four, but that's because I'm under-leveled.
Oh.
But I didn't realize, like, I went in and like started fighting the first one. I'm like, I could probably get to the end, and I got to the end, but then stupid Garchomp kept fucking getting critical hits, and I was just like, fuck this, like, I'm gonna just die.
Yeah, Cynthia's Garchomp is one of the hardest Pokemon in general to fight, because Garchomp's fast and Garchomp hits hard, which is unusual because like most of the Elite Four's final like best Pokemon, they hit hard, but they're not fast, so you can at least go first against them. Which,
well, it didn't help that
Garchomp is fast.
Yeah, it didn't help that she used the full restore on that one. I was like, oh, I'm fucked.
Do you have any Pokemon that know ice moves? That will
No, I didn't. I realized that after I didn't have any ice moves.
Go like to the game corner and like teach somebody Ice Beam, and then you'll destroy. You'll just poop on Garchomp for free.
Yeah, everything we said about it last time. And
I still want to know your team, man.
The Turtwig's final form.
So Torterra,
Luxray.
Okay, so Luxray. That's the only electric Pokemon.
Staraptor.
Okay.
Rapidash,
Oh my god, why?
just to have the fire moves.
Rapidash is such a piece of shit, though.
Legendary Palkia.
Yep.
I think I had Floatzel, yeah.
So you just evolved. But what did you have before, or did you have anything before Palkia?
I can't even remember at this point.
Okay. The game's been really impactful, I see.
That was all like last week, and which leads
Okay.
into my next game that I played, which is another monster collecting game, but it's called Nexomon.
I actually know what that is.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was like an indie game that came out. This is like on, I think it was on mobile platforms earlier, but it came out on Steam and all platforms, like all consoles this year.
I found out there was two games.
Yes.
I'm playing Nexomon Extinction. There's the original, which is Nexomon, which is on smartphone or on Steam.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Nexomon Extinction is on console as well as Steam.
Like the mobile one and the not like the console one are both on Steam. You can
Yes.
do that.
Yeah, and I really like it. It is a little weird though, because instead of like, in Pokemon where you have like only a number of moves before you have to go heal to replenish that, you've got a stamina bar. You can kind of exploit it at the beginning where you're just going to heal and let the weak enemies just like pile on you and heal with an item. Or later I get like a move that just heals me fully, and the consequence is you only have to wait one turn of meditating and then you get to attack again. So it's really broken. It's like Rest, but on steroids.
Interesting.
But by that point, you're kind of wasting a lot of extra of the stamina. So you're constantly either going to be waiting, or by that point, you'll have enough money and you'll just have bought 50 stamina potions essentially and just use those instead.
So instead of power points, you just have like stamina. It's a shared pool of stamina. So there's only so much like attack your monster has before it like either needs to be switched out or you need to like rest.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, I had a really broken strategy because there was a move that like lowers all of those stamina requirement for each move by 10. So I was just able to use that and then fire off like a couple that were just one stamina. So it was like really broken.
Jesus.
So it was fun in that regard. But then later on, like there were more powerful moves that needed like 25, and then you just use the one that lowers it by 10, and then it'd be 15 instead. So you're still like using it up, but you were getting more powerful moves. So it basically extended the stamina bar like quite a bit. Yeah, overall, it's great if you like Pokemon. I think it honestly has a way better overall story because, well, one, it has a story, and two,
shots fired.
yeah, exactly. It's just well told. There's a lot of like kind of fourth wall jokes or jokes that poke fun at Pokemon. So, why can't I have more than 6 Nexomon? How is technology not improved yet to let me have so many of them?
That's like a balance thing, though.
Yeah, I know. It's just a joke, but there's one where you're in like these creepy woods area, and you'll come across this really creepy tree, and then your partner will be like, all right, he's giving you a side quest. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. At the end of the game, and like I'll put the spoilers tag obviously, but they'll be like, you beat the final boss, roll the credits, and then you'd be partway through the credits, it'd be like, psych, it's not over yet. There's a lot of decent humor in this though, like, and the story is compelling enough.
I've been looking at these things designs as you've been talking. I haven't paying attention to what you've been saying. This is not a Nexomon. This is a Pokemon. That is a Pokemon's design. I put it in chat.
Yeah.
I don't know what that Pokemon's called because it's from that generation that I didn't play, but that is a Pokemon. That is not a Nexomon.
Yeah, some of them are a little bit on the nose. Some other ones that I really like, though. I'm
looking through the designs of them now. I don't hate the designs, but I also am not a huge fan of them. My only kind of gripe with them is it feels like most of the... So like, with Pokemon, I feel like they always retain certain thematic elements when they go from, like, stage to stage. And you can always kind of tell that they're the same, but they usually look distinct from one another. And in most of the cases with these things, the evolved form just looks like the previous thing, but bigger. So I don't feel like the designs are distinct enough from one another. It's just like, this is the design of this line. As I'm looking at them, it doesn't feel like I'm looking at 3 different creatures. It just looks like I'm looking at different creatures, like it's a child version of the creature, and then it's like the adult version. It's like a difference between looking at like a child cat, like a kitten and a cat. It's like, okay, well, you can clearly see this is still like the same creature. It hasn't meaningfully changed its appearance in any way. It's just bigger now.
And you can say the same thing with a lot of the baby Pokemon to their adult form.
There's like some Pokemon that are like that, but I feel like in general, Pokemon has like a lot more distinct Cyndaquil is like an echidna, but then like Typhlosion's like a giant hamster, and it's like, oh, these Pokemon like they have their own personality, right? Like Quilava, Cyndaquil, Typhlosion, they all have like their own. They look like different Pokemon, even though they turn into one another, but it like still makes sense. Or like Seedot into Nuzleaf into Shiftry. It's like, okay, those Pokemon have like their own unique personality as well. Or like Magikarp to Gyarados. Obviously, not every evolutionary line of Pokemon gets this correct, but I feel like more often than not they do. All right, well, I don't know if you want to leave anything in here, but let's acknowledge the fact we've had our recording bot die on us like 3 or 4 times throughout the recording, so it's probably gonna be a little choppy. So Jason,
I'll make it work.
Yeah, you start again from the Nexomon bit.
What's kind of cool about this one is you get 8 or 9 starters to pick from at the beginning.
Holy shit, that's a lot. Is that like one for every type?
Yes, one for every element, I believe. So I picked the Psychic Cat Masquidi.
Probably like Mass Kitty.
Yeah, Mask Kitty. A lot of these you can still get later on, but they're like ultra rare, so you're not gonna find them pretty or like early on in the game. You're gonna get like because they classify the monsters like with common, uncommon, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Like legendary. You can get items throughout the game that like progressively get you more like stuff or like extra perks. Like, oh, you'll have 3% extra chance to get this like a dragon type or like or not really a dragon type, but a psychic type, or 3% chance of getting more of an electric. So there's a lot of like little passive bonuses you'll get through the chest through the gameplay, through exploration.
So what you're saying is that it plays more like an RPG, like an actual fully fleshed out RPG than Pokemon, which is more of I'm sorry for people who like Pokemon, but Pokemon's like Babby's first RPG.
Yeah, and
there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It's just that's how the game's designed.
It has good quests, and it has like some funnier like side quests as well.
Okay.
PETA would hate this game because 3 of them are like...
Fuck cares about PETA?
I know, but you trade the Nexomon for goods instead of, in Pokemon where you trade Pokemon to Pokemon.
Oh, you can actually trade, like, if someone's like, I want this Nexomon, and you can be like, all right, here's a Nexomon, give me, like, some potions or whatever.
Exactly. That was the first one. I was like, oh, yeah, no, PETA would...
That's neat, though. It's like someone's like, oh, I want this Nexomon, and you're like, all right, I'll go find it for you.
There's very few of them, but yes, you can do a couple of them.
I think that's actually kind of cool.
Well, one guy, like, wants, like, fire types, but you're in the ice area, and he's like, I'm freezing my balls off, basically. You're not saying balls, but you get what I mean.
My scrotum is very cold. Please help.
Yeah, so you give them like they're usually like evolve forms too, or something like that. So you have to have like gotten the base one and evolved, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna part for like this vault key."
Okay, so I'm not huge on RPGs, and I'm also like, I kind of hate Pokemon, but I keep playing it. Do you think I would enjoy this game? Because it's like the Steam Black Friday sale at the time of recording, and it's on sale right now.
I would believe so. If you tolerate Pokemon, I think you can tolerate this one.
Well, I mean, I don't want to tolerate the game. I want to enjoy it.
Well, I know. Did you enjoy Pokemon Sword and Shield enough?
I enjoyed it in as far as like I found it fun to find the new creatures and evolve them.
Okay, yeah, I think you'd find this at least fun enough to...
How good grindy is this?
Oh, actually, it's that's actually one of my points. It's not as grindy. If you're training like one of them up, you can have these extra cores that you can craft with. Essentially, it's like these gems that you'll just smash along the way. You get a lot of them while just exploring.
So there's just like items that help you power level, basically.
Yeah, you can craft these cores that basically are like one's like an shared experience thing. It's like the XP share.
Okay.
It's 25%. If you craft 4 of them, you can equip the 4 of them to this monster. So they'll get 100% of what your main person who's fighting gets. So you could just power level that way.
Yeah, I could do that. I know people get really uppity about it. It's like, EXP share makes the game too easy. And like whenever I play the old games, I use EXP share so liberally because I'm like, I don't... Like, if I can get away with doing less fights to get my Pokemon to where they need to be, then I'm going to do it because that's just efficient.
Yep.
It doesn't make the game harder. Like, going through more brainless fights doesn't make the game any more difficult. It just makes it longer.
Yeah, and the game kind of levels up with you. So there's a positive and negative of that. So
This game's not really hard, but
The game's not super hard, but if you did like, let's say, get like you had like a level 10 that you had caught earlier on, you're pretty much hosed and trying to level that up like through normal gameplay. You have to power it up through the XP share, essentially.
that's fine. That's
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's just, but you could still like go back and like go to the same area and catch something that's of your equivalent level. So you can catch them at the end. And they're all like level 60 or 70 because the levels kind of gradually go up with the story, and as well as your like you have like this reputation, which is kind of an accumulation of the story events plus your collection of monsters that you get, and it kind of goes
okay.
up. And the monsters and the trainers you can all refight. So if you need to level up a little bit, you can just find them on the same path and like go, let's fight again, let's rematch. They usually either have a couple more monsters or they'll have their evolve forms. So the trainers that you fought before, like at level 10, will be kind of completely different.
This is sounding like a lot of the quality of life features that get added to Pokemon, but then get removed from Pokemon for fuck only knows what reason, are just all here because the developer's not a brain dead moron.
One of my favorite things about capturing them, and this is like things that Pokemon should take note of, there is an option to give them food, which increases your chance of capturing them. And the capture chances are actually displayed 100% to you. And it's actually broken down into you've fatigued them by damaging them.
Oh,
You
so
have like a
you know
70% chance.
exactly
Yes,
what it's like. Okay, I'm throwing this out, and I've got a 70% chance of it landing.
exactly. You have a 70% chance of that. And like there's a few other factors like, the food meter,
Okay.
whether they're paralyzed or frozen or what other status element you've dealt them might deal like an extra 10%, and the type of trap that you have. So they've got like your base one and one for each type of element. And then it gives you about, I'd say, 10 or so master balls essentially.
So like a
Like
insta catch.
100% chance, like a golden
Okay.
legendary one. So it's like if you're just like, I want to catch that legendary, and you're just like, fuck it. Get in
Is
there now.
they have legendaries in this game?
They do.
Oh, legendaries are my least favorite part of Pokemon.
Well, the legendaries are actually part of the story. The story is all about like it's basically if the legendaries were all just having like a fight to say, I am the best legendary. Fuck you.
My penis is the biggest.
Yeah, it's basically a fight for the throne of to be like the king of the monsters. So the legendaries kind of have a bit of a story element in there. The end game is kind of a little weaker though, because it's literally just a cleanup,
That's fine.
which is fine. Yeah, there's like 3 sets of legendaries. There's kind of like the ones you'll just find randomly near the end of the game. The other 2 sets are kind of legendaries that are tied to quests, so they're not random. So you'll be able to find them pretty damn easily.
Sounds like a neat game. Nexomon Extinction. You played Extinction, right? Not the
Extinction. I did pick it up from my smartphone because apparently that I didn't realize it was on Steam before. I might have picked it up there.
Nexomon original is like $5 right now, and Nexomon Extinction is 20% off, so it's $18. This game looks like a fucking mobile game. Holy shit. Oh, you get to see them from the front side when they're on your side instead of the annoying, terrible back sprites.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I can dig it.
Yeah, I think the one funniest part was that I picked playing as the girl to start, and then you're allowed to change the gender of the character as well, or the sprite, like
Okay.
your avatar. So I changed it to be the guy, and then one element of the game made absolutely no sense. Like one character was like, "Hello, good to see you again." And I'm like, "Who the fuck are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's because it's swapped because it's like, oh, that's supposed to be my parent or something like that." And I'm like, "Oh, that's who you are." Because I changed back. I'm like, oh,
That's interesting.
oops.
That's
So that was
what
kind of
it
fun.
is. You can pick up Doom or something as well. Okay, cool. Anything else? We're getting on in time
Nope,
here, so
that was it. That's it for our show this week. We've talked about the Game Awards and who we think are going to win.
I hope that was not too dry.
I think it'll be fine.
All right, well, we'll see. Well, let us know.
Anyway, if you want to follow us on Twitter at the Frosty Canucks or my personal Twitter at Javm Animation, that's JAVM Animation, please feel free to do that. Follow our podcast either on the Stitcher or Spotify. That'll help us so that you'll get notified when it goes out every other Wednesday. And Frosty, your turn.
All right, give me a follow on Twitter where I post occasionally I post videos of the games I've been playing, and other times I post the art I've been doing. You can also follow me on Instagram. I set up an Instagram over the last 2 weeks. I've just been posting art there. If you just want to look at my goofy art, you can go there to look at it. I only have a couple of things on there. Over time, I'll be actually keeping it up to date. Instagram is a great place to post art, apparently. And as per normal, you can check out my written work at frostylite.ca. I know that a number of you already know about it because that's where some of our audience comes from. But I write about video game related stuff. Most recently, I wrote about the GameSwap experience and had more of my kind of thoughts in a more coherent written fashion instead of the kind of gibberish I had on here. If you want the full version of my ranting about Paradigm, you can check it out instead of just the summary version I gave here. And then also I've got another article, a little bit about Hades, a little bit about Monster Hunter, and that's coming out. That'll be out the Monday before this podcast goes live. So that'll be live for you to go read. And I would highly recommend it. I'm pretty pleased with what I came up with for that one. So I stream every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Frosty Fridays. Come drop by and say hi.
All right, Kirk survived long enough to get the outro going out. So
You didn't say stay frosty.
I didn't say it yet.
Oh, you were. I thought you were talking about. I thought you were
No.
breaking the fourth. Oh, I didn't realize you were breaking the fourth wall there. You can leave this in if you want to make me look like an ass.
All right, everyone, stay frosty.